My lazy parents crashed my house, closing like they were invited to the party, demanding to be added to the deed of the first home I'd ever bought with my own blood and sweat. I was sitting there in the title company's office in downtown Denver, pen hovering over the final documents for my modest 3-bedroom ranch in Washington Park, when the door burst open on September 14, 2023. Mom waddled in first at 59 years old, her perpetual scowl hidden behind a fake grin and a $9 bottle of Cook's sparkling wine. Dad trailing behind at 62 with his hands in the pockets of his stained cargo shorts, eyes already scanning the room like he was appraising it for resale. I just turned 32 2 months earlier, finally pulling in $214,000 a year as a senior software engineer at a fintech startup in Lodo. The house wasn't flashy. $850,000 in this insane 2023 Denver market felt like highway robbery compared to the $1.4 million teardowns 2 blocks over. But it was mine. 1,850 square feet of 1950s red brick, original hardwood floors, a finished basement I'd turn into a home office, and a backyard that actually faced west toward the mountains. No more $2,800 per month rentals in Capitol Hill with neighbors who partied until 4 a.m. This was the finish line after 14 straight years of grinding since I was 18. They didn't wait for introductions. Mom plopped the Cooks on the closing table like it was Dom Perignon. "Congratulations, honey. We heard from your cousin Lisa on Facebook that you're buying a house. That's huge." Dad nodded, already pulling out his cracked iPhone 8. "Yeah, kid. Proud of you. Now, about the deed, we figure since we're family, you should add us as joint tenants with right of survivorship. You know, for protection. In case something happens to you." The title agent, Karen, 48, with a bun tighter than my chest felt right then, froze mid-sentence. I just stared at them. The room smelled like stale coffee and the cheap Victoria's Secret body spray Mom had worn since 2003. "Excuse me," I said, my voice calmer than I felt. Mom waved her hand like I was being dramatic, her acrylic nails clicking. "Oh, come on, Alex. We've always talked about this. Family helps family. You wouldn't be here without us. And Denver real estate? Zillow says prices are up 42% since 2020. It's smart to have our names on it too. That way if, God forbid, you get hit by a bus on Spear Boulevard, it stays in the family." Dad leaned on the table like he owned the place, his $12 Walmart watch ticking loudly. "Exactly. And honestly, son, we've been struggling. My back's been killing me since that injury at the warehouse in 2011. Still waiting on that disability approval. Social Security barely covers the $1,100 per month RV payment on our 2015 Forest River. This could be our retirement plan." I laughed. The kind of laugh that starts in your gut and comes out sharp enough to cut glass. Karen cleared her throat and excused herself to check on some forms. Practically running. That was when the mask dropped completely. Mom's fake smile vanished. Her eyes, those cold gray eyes that could spot a clearance rack from 50 yards, narrowed to slits. "Don't play cute, Alexander Michael Rivera. We know exactly how much you make. Your cousin showed us the LinkedIn post about your promotion last quarter. $214,000? Plus stock options? You think you get to keep all that after everything we sacrificed?" Dad jumped in, voice rising. "We raised you for 18 years. That's $388,000 in today's dollars just for food, clothes, and shelter. Conservative estimate. You owe us." There it was. The ledger they'd kept since I was born. I was 6 when Mom first started the "You owe us" speech. I wanted a PlayStation for Christmas 1997. Instead, I got a used Game Boy Color and a 3-hour lecture about how much my existence cost. At 12, when I asked for cleats for soccer, Dad sat me down with a calculator and showed me how much they'd invested in me versus what public school kids got for free. By 15, every dollar I earned mowing lawns went into their Alex College Fund that mysteriously disappeared by the time I needed SAT prep books. They weren't poor. They chose this. Dad collected $41,200 per year in early Social Security starting at 62. Plus Mom's $18,000 from her part-time cashier job at King Soopers that she constantly threatened to quit because my feet hurt. They owned a paid-off $380,000 house in Aurora they bought in 1998 for $142,000, but refused to sell because property values always go up. Instead, they bought that ridiculous RV in 2019 with a $72,000 loan at 8.9% interest because we deserve to see America before we die. Meanwhile, I'd eaten ramen for dinner 4 nights a week through college, worked 36 hours a week at Best Buy while carrying 18 credit hours, graduated debt-free only because I hustled scholarships they never helped apply for, Karen peeked back in. I held up a hand. Give me 5 minutes. Mom wasn't done. She leaned forward, perfume overwhelming. Here's how this works, Alex. You add us to the deed today, or we make this very difficult. We know lawyers. Cheap ones, but still lawyers. We'll file liens, contest everything. Remember when your cousin tried to buy that condo in 2021? We made her life hell until she added Aunt Teresa. Translation. They'd harassed my cousin with fake HOA complaints and forged letters until she caved. Dad pulled out the big gun. And don't forget your grandmother's money. We know she left you something. Marlene's her daughter. Blood rights. That's when I smiled for real. Grandma Elena Martinez, Mom's mother, was the only adult who ever saw them clearly. Born in 1937 in Taos, New Mexico, she'd come to Denver in 1962 with $400 and a third-grade education. Cleaned houses in Cherry Hills Village for 40 years, bought her first duplex in 5 Points in 1978 for $48,000 cash, flipped and repeated until she owned 11 properties free and clear by 2015. Worth $4.8 million at her death in March 2018. Mom had been counting on that inheritance since Grandma's first cancer diagnosis in 2014. But Grandma knew her daughter. Knew Dad was worse. On February 12, 2018, 6 weeks before she died at 80, she had her estate lawyer, David Goldstein, set up an irrevocable trust. $1.2 million in cash and securities to me alone on my 30th birthday, July 2021. The 11 properties sold, proceeds split between 3 charities and my cousin Sophia, who'd actually cared for her. The house I was buying? 20% down. $170,000 came from that trust disbursement. Mom and Dad got exactly $1 each. The legal minimum to prevent contest claims. They tried anyway. Spent $38,000 on a probate lawyer who took their money and accomplished nothing. Judge threw it out in 22 minutes. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out the envelope I'd carried every day for 2 years. Thick cream paper, gold seal from Goldstein and Associates. This, I said, placing it between them like a loaded weapon, is why you'll never touch this house. Or anything else. Mom snatched it first, ripping it open with those acrylics. Dad crowded over her shoulder. Page 1. Irrevocable Trust of Elena Martinez. Beneficiary Alexander M. Rivera only. Page 2. Specific clause Grandma added after Mom tried to move into her 5 Points house to care for her in 2017. In the event my daughter Marlene Teresa Rivera, née Martinez, or her husband Richard Allen Rivera attempt to interfere with, contest, or make any claim against this trust or any assets purchased therewith, including but not limited to real property, they shall be deemed to have predeceased me for all purposes of distribution. Page 3. The rider about the $170,000 down payment being traced directly to trust funds, making the property untouchable. Mom's face went purple. This is fake. Mama would never. Call David Goldstein, I said, sliding his card across. He's expecting you. Again. Dad exploded. You manipulative little bastard. You poisoned her against us. Actually, I said calmly, she poisoned herself against you. Remember Christmas 2016? When you told her if she didn't add you to her deed, you'd put her in a home. She recorded that conversation. It's Exhibit C. The color drained from both their faces. Karen came back in. Mr. Rivera? Are we proceeding with closing today? Just your name on title. Yes, I said, signing with a flourish. Alexander Michael Rivera, sole owner. Mom started the waterworks, those Oscar-worthy sobs she'd perfected over decades. How can you do this to your mother? After I carried you for 9 months. You carried me for 9 months, I said. Then spent the next 32 years trying to collect interest. They left 20 minutes later. Mom screaming in the parking lot about elder abuse. And, we'll see you in court. Dad threatening to tell everyone what an ungrateful son you are. But the real show came 3 months later. On December 28, 2023, a process server showed up at my new house, my house, with papers. My parents were suing me for $1.2 million, claiming I'd exercised undue influence over Grandma, that she'd been senile, that the trust was invalid. They wanted the court to declare my house purchased with fraudulent funds and force its sale, with proceeds split 3 ways. They'd found a lawyer willing to take it on contingency. Some guy named Gary Fink who advertised on bus benches. The hearing was set for June 11, 2024, in Arapahoe County. I hired Goldstein for $15,000 to defend. Money well spent. June 11th was 87 degrees. Smoke from the Alexander Mountain fire making the air taste like ash. My parents showed up looking pathetic. Mom in a $39 dress from Ross, hair freshly dyed that unnatural black she thought made her look younger. Dad in a $22 Walmart suit that strained across his 280-pound frame. Their lawyer started strong. Grandma had dementia. I'd isolated her. The trust was signed under duress. Goldstein destroyed them in 45 minutes. Medical records, Dr. Patel testifying Grandma scored 29 to 30 on her last MOCA test 3 weeks before signing, perfect cognition. Visitor logs. I visited 187 times in her final year. My parents? For times total. Once to demand $20,000 for RV repairs. Bank records. Mom withdrew $8,400 from Grandma's account in 2017, using a power of attorney Grandma revoked the next day. The piece de resistance. Grandma's own video, recorded January 2018 on her iPhone, propped up on her bedside table while getting chemo. If Marlene and Rick ever try to take what I left Alex, play this in court. They're parasites. Always have been. I worked 60 hours a week cleaning white people's houses so my grandchildren wouldn't have to, and those two spent their lives on the couch. Alex earned every penny by not becoming them. The judge, Honorable Patricia Chan, 54, who'd seen every trick in the book, didn't even deliberate. Case dismissed with prejudice. The court finds this action was filed in bad faith. Plaintiffs are ordered to pay defendants legal fees of $18,200 within 30 days. Additionally, due to the no contest clause, any remaining claims against the Elena Martinez estate are permanently barred. Mom collapsed in genuine tears this time. Dad just stared at the floor, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Outside the courthouse, Mom tried one last time. Snow from last winter's record dump still lingered in shady spots, but June heat made everything smell like defeat. Alex, please. The RV got repossessed last month. We're living in a $1,100 per month extended stay off Colfax. Your father's blood pressure. I looked at her. Really looked. The woman who'd made me wear the same jeans 3 days in a row in middle school to save on laundry costs. Who told me at 16 that if I got a girl pregnant I'd have to man up and support her, while she spent my college savings on a timeshare in Branson. You made your choices, I said. Every single day for 32 years. This was just the consequence. I walked away, didn't look back. That fall, I finished renovations. $42,000 kitchen remodel with quartz counters and the gas range I dreamed of since watching Gordon Ramsay as a kid. Built a deck that cost $28,000 but gave me mountain views that made every penny worth it. My sister Mia, 28, moved into the basement after graduating CU Boulder with her nursing degree. Rent-free while she saved for her own place. We drank Coors Banquet on the deck and talked about everything except them. In November 2024, I got a letter forwarded from my old address. Mom's shaky handwriting. Alex, we're being evicted December 1st. Dad's in the hospital with chest pains, $47,000 bill so far. We know we made mistakes, but we're your parents. Just $25,000 to get an apartment and pay medical. For Grandma's sake. I read it twice. Took it to the fireplace I'd installed for $12,000. Watched it curl and blacken while sipping the $180 bottle of Blanton's Grandma had saved for my 30th birthday. Some fires destroy, others cleanse. 18 months later, in March 2026, I married Lila, a third-grade teacher from Park Hill with freckles and a laugh that sounds like wind chimes. We got married under the aspens I'd planted, their leaves just starting to bud. Mia was my best woman. Sophia flew in from Albuquerque. Not one toxic relative invited. Sometimes at night, when the house is quiet except for Lila's breathing and our dog Max snoring at the foot of the bed, I think about September 14th, 2023. How close I came to letting them steal one more thing. But Grandma's voice still rings clear. You earned the right by not becoming them. The mortgage is paid off now, extra principal payments from bonuses. Trust grew to $1.8 million invested conservatively. I coach my company's softball team. Mentor kids from broken homes through a coding nonprofit. Live the life they said was impossible. And every time I turn my key in the lock, my door, my house, I smile. Because some people don't just take out the trash. They burn the whole bin and build something beautiful on the ashes.